Here we go then. Welcome back to a brand new series, an exciting series where we are talking all about tennis coaching, how to become a top tennis coach. Introducing Niels.
Hi guys, I'm Niels Furman and I'm a level 3 qualified tennis coach. Let's not forget that ready position.
Introducing Jaya.
Hi guys, my name's Jayas. I'm a level 3 tennis coach. And let's always remember to be on our toes.
And we've got Sam Tyson.
Hi guys, my name's Sam. I am the host here on Tyson's Tennis Tips. And don't forget that split step at the crucial time. Here we go then. Let the podcast begin. Anyone for tennis. We are back talking about tennis, but in particular today, guys, we are discussing how to become a top tennis coach. Only really one place to start, and I think we should introduce ourselves and just go through how we got into tennis coaching, our pathway to what is the greatest job without doubt in the world. Niels, starting with you, do you want to discuss and tell us a bit about your pathway into coaching?
So I started coaching from my old club in Austria, in Vienna, when I was 15 years old. I had to take over camps and help out a little bit, and I was a bit like an assistant coach, starting to give a couple tips here and there, but obviously, you're not really sure of yourself at that age. And then obviously when I was at Colford, the head of development asked me as well to help out on Saturdays, and so I ended up doing like every single week Saturday for like the first 2 terms, which was really I really enjoyed that, and I think it's a great experience to just start off in a position where you can make mistakes, and obviously you can learn from the people who've got obviously are more qualified and who've been doing it for a long time. So for me, that's how my journey started, and obviously loved it ever since then.
No, it sounds great, and we can always see your passion, Niels, for the job, for the sport. I mean, some would say, can we call it a job? It's such fun. Jaya, your pathway into coaching?
Yeah, so a little bit similar to Niels. So I was studying at Colford as well with Niels, so that's where I met Niels. And yeah, I started when I was probably about 16, just helping out at some mini red sessions after school and really enjoying them, sort of worked my way up a little bit with that, started to lead a few more sessions as well. And then I did my basically level 1, level 2 when I was still doing my studies, and then I fully qualified when I was about 18 for level 3. So yeah, just gone from trying to gain that experience right at the bottom, just assisting, hitting balls, feeding, giving little tips, just whatever I could, just to get my foot in the door, so to speak. And here I am today.
No, absolutely. And for me personally, believe it or not, the Duke of Edinburgh course when we were at high school, secondary school, that actually got me into coaching. Part of the Duke of Edinburgh qualification was to volunteer. So I volunteered at the local tennis club, and that was where my love for coaching began, really, from there. Like you, Jaya, I tried to get myself qualified pretty quickly. I had a really good friend of mine, a guy called Elliot, who was also a very enthusiastic young tennis coach coming through. So both of us together managed to get onto our level 1, level 2, and then level 3 qualified by the age of 19. So I think it does help to get those qualifications ticked off quickly. And yeah, Duke of Edinburgh really was my volunteering was my path into coaching. We've briefly discussed there, guys, the LTA qualifications that we need. Niels, do you want to tell us a bit more about the pathway to becoming a development tennis coach?
Well, firstly, obviously you've got your level 1. Basically an introduction to tennis coaching where you start to sort of play around with the idea of actually becoming a coach. And your level 1 is obviously a weekend. Usually it's just obviously if you have that qualification, that level of qualification, you're obviously an assistant coach. So you're able to assist obviously the head coach or the coach that is actually taking up that session. That sort of qualification is there to give you a bit more confidence. So it actually ends up helping you out, thinking, already putting something on the resume saying I've actually got my level, which is great. Level 2 is a bit more tricky. You start to be a bit more serious. Usually the tutor that tells you this is usually if you want to become a tennis coach, this is, a qualification to take a bit more seriously. There are actually tasks to do online as well. You actually have to record some hours, obviously, at the club you're working at. And you actually have to, obviously, at the end, you have an exam where you have to show your skills as a tennis coach, in obviously, you know, which does help. And then for the people who really want to go all the way, you've got your level 3 qualification, which they've changed now. The LTS changed and made it a lot more difficult. So you've got more tasks, you've got more hours to record, and it's a lot longer, which is great because it kind of shows the people that really want to do it and really want to move forwards. You know, example, all 3 of us, which is great. So I think that genuinely, for sure, actually helps you and really motivates you to say, you know what, this is really the path I want to take, and this is where I want my life to go, which is fantastic. So you see a lot of enthusiastic tennis coaches, people who can obviously, you're good tennis players who've got good knowledge of the game, which for sure helps. And I think when you've got your level 3, there's a degree of satisfaction, which, you know, I think is not that easy to get. And if you love the sport, a level 3 is absolutely fantastic. And so I think level 3 really shows the commitment you have as a tennis coach, and I think it's the start of a lovely journey, you know. So yeah, definitely.
And I think, Jai, once you've got that level 3 under your belt, so to speak, it just enables you. It opens a lot of doors, doesn't it? I think in terms of you know, how employable you are. I think that the opportunity, obviously, to go and coach abroad as well, which is massive. And I think, yeah, having that level 3, Jai, it makes a big difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think the number one thing for me when I became qualified level 3 was that extra confidence, knowing that I've got all the knowledge, all the skills to apply coaching to other people and actually to make it more of a full-time career for myself. I think the level 1 and level 2 is great introduction. It's a slow introduction, enables people more time to see if it's something that's really for them. And then the level 3 is where you really learn all the skills to and also the communication skills and how to apply that knowledge, because you can have loads of knowledge, but it's about how you apply that knowledge to your pupils, which is how you really get the results. And that's a lot about what you learn level 3. And yeah, like you said, Sam, it looks very much like you're taking it as a career for an employer to see that on your CV. So it really is it's a great stepping stone into the pathway in coaching.
And Niels, what was it about tennis coaching that sort of inspired you and got you into the industry?
Well, it's more the fact that when I started coaching, I actually had one of the development coaches called Ashton Pepper, who approached me and said I had a knack for it, and I really, you know, the kids really responded to my coaching. So not only that, obviously, I've loved tennis since I was able to walk. So I've been playing that game for a long time, and I love the game. It is my life, and it will be for the rest of my life. That is the thing. I wake up every single day, compete or coach. I genuinely, it is everything. So for me, when I coach or when I sort of try and, you know, give that knowledge to people who maybe do not have that yet, I try and give it with a lot of intensity and a lot of passion. So especially if you're coaching kids and if you're working with younger kids, that comes across really well, because the kids, they respond to you. They respond to how a coach, you know, sort of how's his body language, you know, how is he? Has he got his hands in his pockets, or is he actually always jumping? Is he in there? Is he always, come on kids, let's go, come on. You know, you're always like, even just in the warm-up makes a huge difference. So for me, it was just, if we put the advice of the other coaches aside, I just loved it from the second I started it, just like when I started playing tennis for myself. So really, it's just incredible, and it's just fantastic, and it's awesome to be able to wake up every day and say, you know what, I've got probably the best job in the world, and I get to spend it, you know, in shorts and t-shirt, whereas most people have to put on a tie and and just have to go to work. So for me, that's, you know, proper blessing in disguise.
Yeah, and I think as well, you were saying, Niels, I heard the 2 words body language, and that is massive. You know, for anyone, we're going to be, you know, 3 episodes we're looking to release here on this with our podcast that we're obviously talking about, discussing, debating today. But that is a huge attribute to have, isn't it? Having good body language. You need to be able to motivate and inspire whoever, you know, kids or adults, whoever you're teaching. Jai, what was it for you that sort of you know, unlocked the door into coaching?
Well, I mean, like you two as well. I mean, I've been playing tennis since I can remember, probably when I was about 5-6 years old, and just loved playing from a very early age. And then as I got older, I started to get into the more competitive side. Wasn't really thinking about becoming a coach. I was just trying to get as far as I could as a tennis player. And then really, it wasn't really until I got to my early teens that I thought, okay, I can play tennis, but I also can start to coach and to help other people get to the same level I've got to. So it really sort of sparked the idea from there, really, that that you can be a great role model to these younger kids coming through, and help them along that journey. And for me, that's really special. And I feel like to have a hobby as a job goes a long way as well, and you can have so much more passion for a hobby. And I don't really call it a job because it's something that I enjoy so much. So but yeah, that's really sort of where it came from, playing myself, and then seeing it as a great opportunity to better develop myself, and also to give back and help the next generation come through, and all sorts.
Yeah, and the giving back is massive, isn't it? I think when you've got a job where you know that you're directly helping others, for me, that is, I think for all, well, I speak for all three of us, that's such a huge thing, isn't it? To make sure that we're helping other people improve, develop, and not just, obviously our end goal result is to turn them into great tennis players, but even just the fitness, the health side of it as well, knowing that we're helping, especially with children. We know there's been a big obesity sort of crisis, not just in this country but around the world, really, and we know that we're helping children get fitter, get more healthy by being active. And for me, that's probably on par, if not more, than turning them into great tennis players, and obviously slowly looking at going down to the performance route. So let's discuss now on the podcast a little bit about why the job is so good, why being a tennis coach is so appealing, because we're looking at younger teenagers coming through, looking at where are they going to go in life. And really, if this podcast can help more young people get into tennis coaching, then that'd be amazing. So, I mean, Niels, in your eyes, what makes tennis coaching so good?
Well, it's a sort of, I'd say it's a sort of escape for most kids, because most kids, maybe if you're not maybe that good at school, or if you maybe don't enjoy school that much, tennis is fantastic because you get to, it's basically like a play environment. When you've got 13, 12, 11-year-olds, when I have these groups of 8 kids and they all get on so well, that is fantastic. Like, you play tennis, but you also get to have a little joke about, and their parents pick them up and the kids are in a good mood and they're smiling because it is something they enjoy. Just 3 times a week, something like that, basically can save their lives, because they end up thinking, you know what, I've got school, but after that, I've got tennis. So for me, that was, when I see these kids coming in, you see they're kind of a bit grumpy because they've had school, and an hour and a half later, they're high-fiving each other and they're happy and they're smiling and they're telling jokes, and you're like, you know what, I've done my job as a tennis coach, and I've actually shown them what tennis is all about. And for some of them, it's not even about tennis, it's just about having mates and getting on with people, because maybe their social skills aren't that great. So as a tennis coach, you can kind of see that and just kind of help them out and push them in the right direction.
Yeah.
The second reason would be, a lot of kids are up to mischief these days. A lot of kids are very sort of, they don't know where they want to go in life. So tennis is a way to keep them, away from trouble, so to speak. And I've had a lot of parents come to me as well and say, it's good that these kids like tennis because they don't really enjoy anything else. And who knows what they would be doing if they weren't playing tennis. So for me, that is important, because you maybe in a little way, you can maybe change the course of their life. And even if they don't go into tennis, they realize that it's actually nice to stick at something. And I mean, we've got some kids, bless them, who aren't that talented, but they still enjoy it. They turn up on time. They've got the right kit. They've got all the equipment, and they actually enjoy themselves and just work so hard. I think that's amazing. For me, that goes a longer way than a kid who's got so much talent and who just doesn't actually want to be here. For me, that doesn't really do anything for me. I'd rather work with a kid who takes a bit longer to improve, but actually works hard in every single session. That for me is the essence of tennis coaching, so to speak. So for me, those would be the 2 reasons. And obviously the one you said with the fitness, where you just, if you forget the emotion and all that, and you put that aside, in terms of just, even if you play tennis, we have like adult session every week, and we're talking about adults or parents who've got kids, who've got jobs, who've got a lot of it on their mind. And even if they turn up just twice a week, they just keep fit and they get to run. And we don't improve them technically that much, but they just get to run. They get to sort of, experience different sorts of movements. And I think it's just good all around, really. So those for me would be the 3 reasons why tennis is so important, really.
No, brilliant stuff, Niels. Completely agree with you there. Jaya, what are your thoughts on this? I mean, what makes being a tennis coach so amazing? I mean, how can we inspire more youngsters to get into the industry?
Well, I mean, firstly, it's such a rewarding job because you're working with so many different types of people, young, old, fit, unfit. So you never quite know who's going to walk through the door when you first meet someone, and then
Walk on the
suddenly
court. Yeah.
that you know, that takes part of a whole new journey with that player. So you start to form connections with players, and you start to learn about them, how best to coach them. So you're using so many different skills to best communicate your coaching and your learning to these players. So no person is the same as someone else. So you're constantly having to adapt, which then improves your communication skills, your social skills. So it has a lot of benefits, this job. And plus, if you enjoy something, you know, like a hobby, and you can turn it into a job, suddenly that level of passion is going to be so much higher as well, because it's something that you've done for many, many years. So you know exactly what tennis is about for you, and then you can help these players much better. So I think, yeah, having that that sort of difference of people that come through that you're working with, and the challenges and rewards that brings, I think such a rewarding job to have, really. That's what I'd say to that question.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, Joe. I mean, for me personally, I think obviously our job is all about helping others improve their tennis game and obviously their fitness as well, which we've talked about. But also to us personally, I know that when I was, you know, at secondary school, I was very quiet, very shy. But tennis coaching then suddenly helped me become so much more confident as a person, go into social events as well. I used to be so quiet, wouldn't really say much. But after, getting into tennis coaching, and the more that you do it over sort of successful years, it just then suddenly turns, you know, your personality, suddenly you become much more, you know, approachable, likable, more chatty, more confident. It has a huge benefit to your mental health because you're exercising a lot, running around the court. So I think it's massive, not just to the players that we're coaching, but to ourselves as well. Guys, one more thing I wanted to bring up on episode 1 of our podcast. Don't forget, for everyone watching at home, we have got 2 more episodes to come. We could sit here all day, all night talking about this, so we've got a lot more to bring you. But the last thing I wanted to touch on today for our first episode was about the level of a player you need to be to become a tennis coach, because I know that a lot of people watching this podcast might be thinking, well, I am approachable, I am confident, I can, you know, I can work with people, but my tennis game isn't necessarily the best. So shall we just finish by just discussing, in your opinion, I can obviously give my opinion as well from my background, as to the level you need to be to become a successful tennis coach. Niels, do you want to start us off with that?
Yeah, I'm going to be a little bit tough and say, if you want to become a tennis coach in the first place, your level should be sufficient to be able to work with at least development players. Yeah. But at the end of the day, not everybody, put it this way, not everybody enjoys playing, but you've got I know a lot of people who are unbelievable athletes and tennis players, and who, you know, are close to professionals, and they're good coaches. But I know also people who are not maybe that good at tennis players, but who are unbelievable coaches, because there's different coaches, there's different ways of doing things. And we, for example, our academy where I work, we have coaches that maybe aren't that good at tennis, but they specialize with, like, you know, they specialize working with mini red players. So players that are, you know, between 4 and 6 years old, and they're amazing. So I think if you forget the quality, if you forget the level of tennis, you can get away with your tennis level not being that great, even if you do enjoy it, because you can still work with players maybe who are a bit younger, who are really young, and maybe who don't usually have that level where you can sort of transmit sort of, you know, your passion, and really communicate what they need to do and what they need to improve. As in terms of the requirements, I think you need to be at least a 6-1. And if not, for your level 3 and level 2, we had people who actually need to do exams. So you basically need to be able to rally, for example, 20 cross court.
Play test, isn't it?
Yeah, play test, exactly. So you need to basically have a certain amount of rallies on both sides. Yeah. And then if you want to complete that, you do that.
I think, Niels, you just mentioned the rating system. I think we will definitely come on to that. So for those of you watching who are a bit unsure, when Niels said about the 6-1, Niels, wasn't it? You mentioned. I think we'll come on to that in one of our future episodes here on the series, because yeah, it's a huge thing, Neil, isn't it, that you've mentioned there. So I think we will sort of cover that a bit more in a future episode. Anything else to add there, Niels, on the playing ability?
I would just say, if you are working with development players, maybe if you're working with adults who just play once, twice a week, for me, the only thing would be you have to just be good enough to be able to demonstrate the skill at a level where they can actually see, you know what, there is a sufficient difference between me and the coach that I actually believe that coach and I actually want to follow their advice. That's the only thing I'd say. Because if you have a coach who can't really hit the ball and who's got trouble sort of, showing the skills, the people are going to go, why am I paying this and this and this amount of money for somebody who maybe isn't as good as they said they were, or who can't actually show me the skills, or who has to maybe take 4 times to actually demonstrate a skill where in those 5 minutes you could actually be playing tennis. So for me, I don't think the level is that important. I just think you need to be at sufficient level to be able to demonstrate and be able to feed and rally with your players.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say.
Jaya, for you, the level of player that you need to be, what do you think?
Yeah, it's a tough question. I think I agree with what Neil said. I think it definitely helps to be of a certain level, because obviously it's going to give yourself a lot more confidence delivering your sessions if you can actually show the skill itself.
Yeah.
Some people wouldn't mind if you're not the best player, but a lot of players will be looking to see the level of the coaches, and it will give you a lot more respect in what you're saying if you can actually deliver the things that you're trying to coach the player. So for me, I think you do need to have a certain level, at least to rally with more development players. Again, certain coaches specialize in certain areas like mini red, mini orange, where you can get away with not being the best tennis player, but your knowledge is good and you can coach the kids really well. But overall, I think having a good playing ability is going to set you apart from being an okay coach to a much better coach, put it that way.
Yeah, and just to conclude there, guys, I completely echo what you're saying. I think the ability you need, like you were saying, Niels, you need to be able to demonstrate a good shot. I remember when I used to demonstrate the serve, especially with an adult group, bit of pressure on that. You can't miss 3 or 4 serves in a row. You can miss maybe one, have a bit of banter about it, but you can't miss many. So you have to be able to demonstrate the shot. I would say club level minimum is where you need to be. I mean, for me personally, I was always a club player. I mean, I represented the club in competitions, but I was never really playing at county level. So when I did my level 3 coaching qualification, I had to go through the play test. Obviously, luckily got through that fine. Wasn't easy though. It wasn't all plain sailing. So I would say you need to be at a good club level to become a successful tennis coach. We can talk again in episode 2 about performance. Again, how good a tennis player do you need to be to coach at performance level? I think that's a slightly different factor there to come on to. But yeah, club level is where I would say you need to be a successful tennis coach. But that is no way near the most important thing. There's a lot more to it than that, which we'll be discussing, guys, in episode 2. It's flown by, this first episode. For everyone watching, I hope you've enjoyed episode 1 of our Tennis Coaches podcast, how to become a great tennis coach. If you're new to our channel, as always, if you could hit the like button, share and subscribe, that will really help us out. The 3 of us will be back for episode 2 very soon, so stay tuned for that. In the meantime, guys, thanks as always for being on the podcast, and the 3 of us will be speaking more about this topic very soon. We'll see you there.